What's going on, y'all? My name's Bless. I've been surrounded by hip-hop my entire life and literally grew up in the music business. Behind the scenes, beyond the music, the industry, and the streets, these are our stories. Join me as we explore the culture that defined our generation. This is The Moment of Truth. What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Bless. To the left of me, I got my co-host Lemme-Kno, and this is the Moment of Truth podcast. Today, we got a legendary figure in hip-hop in the building, a gentleman that is in everybody's top 5, undebatable. Please welcome the chef, Raekwon, Wu-Tang's own, in the building.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you for being here, my G.
What's good? What's good?
It has been a couple years since I've seen you. Fucking nothing ever changes.
Right.
Still killing it. You just came off stage. Momentous night. The entire Wu was in the building.
Right.
Please speak on it, brother.
Nah, the shit was murderous. You know what I mean? We went in there and did what we had to do. The energy was golden. You know what I mean? The new stadium spot was lit. What's called the Bell, right? Some shit like that.
What is it? Santra Bell?
Place Bell.
Place Bell.
Place Bell. I know it
Place
has
Bell.
something to do with the Bell in there, though. I call it the Bell.
Well, basically, the
know
Bell
what I mean?
Center is our stadium downtown,
Right.
and then they just moved. They just replicated it in the suburbs. First time I've been there, so it was an honor to see you there. It was really full circle.
That shit is big as a motherfucker. Like, yo, you could do a lot of shit in there, man. Like, it felt like 100,000 people in there, B.
It looked like it.
Yeah,
And the lighting was incredible.
Yeah, shit was lit up though, man. I was like, I felt good to be, first of all, just to come back out here,
When was the last time you were here?
It was a while ago.
Been a while, eh?
Word.
I'm trying to think. Like I was probably there, but I'm trying to think when.
Yeah, it was at least probably 5-10 years ago or some
Minimal.
Minimum.
Last time me and Ray were together, we were just catching up in the whip and shit. An old homie of mine, Remedy, brought me on stage. There was this Canadian Music Week conference, and the chef was in the building, and they brought me out, and Big Apple was with us. Remember Big Apple and shit? And we just vibed.
Shout out Big Apple.
Yeah, shout out Big Apple, man. And we just vibed lovely. And I was telling my boy Frenchie, I'm like, yo, bring him through, and as soon as we see each other, we'll reconnect, and we just had a big laugh when we see each other.
You know what it is. Yeah, it's memories though.
A lot of memories.
Good memories.
And I love everything coming full circle. I love seeing you and the entire Wu back together. You guys just came off tour with Premier, correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah,
Premier was on that Gods
it
of
was
Rap.
a Gods of Rap
Yeah.
shit, yeah. That shit was dope too, cause it was it was generations of dudes that did their thing in the game, and for me to get an opportunity to stand on that stage with dudes that like Chuck D, who I know when we was getting on,
Of course.
it was like, oh shit, like I watch fights, I watch niggas get broken up, jury gets snatched, niggas get bashed in the face with, nigga take your shit while Chuck D is on stage just rhyming. So it's like, as a kid, standing next to some of those type of artists that created that kind of energy based off of music was amazing, man. And he loved me too. He embraced me. He's like, yo, Ray, you got an ill voice. Like, one thing I noticed about a lot of the OGs, they pay attention to your posture and your flows and your voice. Yeah, your disposition. You know what I mean? How you do your dance. And he's like, yo, man, I love that. You know what I mean about you, yo, your voice. And he was saying shit like, yo, Triumph is my favorite Wu record. You know what I mean? Like, that feel good to know that the niggas that taught you how to do your shit is saluting you like that, So it was crazy.
And for that to come full circle, it must just be like a special moment. Because, I mean, you guys have toured with everybody. You guys have rocked every stage. But I feel like it's special when it's Public Enemy and the entire Wu and Preem.
De La, Public Enemy.
Shout out Maceo.
Yeah, those are masters right there. Those are what you call the top echelons in the culture that really open the door for a lot of us. You know what I mean? Like when you think of guys like Rakim, Kane, you know what I mean? You think of these kind of groups and these kind of artists that really paved the way for us to make a lot of money today off of music. You know what I mean?
Kane and Ra were always my personal favorites.
Oh yeah,
there wouldn't be bars without Kane and Ra.
Yeah,
everybody says, of course, you and Nas and Big, but I think you could agree with me. They paved the way for that multi-syllable.
Absolutely,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I just don't think any of us would be rhyming that pattern if it
Not
wasn't
at all.
For the gods. So
not
peace
at
to
all.
them.
Like when you think of real rhymes, you have to go to those brothers and Slick Rick included and be like, yo,
Nice.
the combinations of flows and the talks, Coogee raps and
Yeah.
all that shit just opened up the door for a lot of us to really want to write and really get on your writing game and shit.
That brings me to my first question. You get a lot of similar questions. I'm sure everybody want to talk about the purple tape. Everybody wants to talk about the Wallies. We ain't gonna go to the obvious. We gonna go a little
You
bit
said
deeper.
the Wallies.
We're not gonna talk about staining the two-tone Wallies.
Right.
Talk to me about what's a young Ray's mind frame when you start putting your first project together. What is your mind frame? Are you expecting the shit to continue to explode as it did? Or are you just like, I'm just trying to pen my nastiest shit and get to where I need to be legacy-wise? You feel me?
Nah, my shit was like, yo, you gotta be Muhammad Ali or nothing less.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like I come from a scuffed up town and they wouldn't expect nothing less from that.
You delivered nothing less.
So it was like me growing up the way I grew up and all the shit I was around. I knew when I got my chance to get in front of the light, I better tear shit apart. So that was my mentality. It was the greatest. It was the best. I'm motherfucking Mike Tyson. I'm fucking Jack Dempsey. I'm Muhammad Ali. I'm you know what I mean? I'm everybody on this mic and you're gonna feel it. You know what I mean? Because it's the truth. You know what I mean? And not saying like it's the truth. I mean like it's the truth. Like nigga, we come from this. We know what it is. You know what I mean? Like my life I died 1,000 times already to make it here, and it's like the music guided me to be a better person. It kind of was like my alter ego, like either you stay involved with the crooks and hang out with them all day and think about digging pockets and selling drugs and fucking with niggas that we feel that got something that we want or whatever. Like I ran with those kind of niggas. Like we want something, we want you, we gonna go get you.
What we would call the old New York.
The
town changed a lot.
And it's like, that side of me was like a different side from the music. I always still love the music. So the music kind of like, it fell in my lap. Like I wasn't really destined to think that I would be doing what I'm doing. I just did it for fun. When you do a lot of shit for fun and then you realize later on, it could be a career. You like, oh shit, word? It's like, damn, I'm just living in this shit. I'm not even really paying attention to it like that. While you got other people who dream to be what we doing today. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's like I stumbled on it.
You fell into it, and because I feel like the energy in New York was so vibrant at the time, and you coming from where you came from, I feel like, undeniably, you guys were able to kind of change the narrative of where hip hop was. I saw some shit where they were saying, I think it was the Stretch and Bobbito doc on Netflix,
right.
How you guys came up in there like 100 deep, and
yeah,
they never
thirsty.
seen an energy like that.
Yeah, we was hungry, man. I mean, we was just trying to figure out where all this shit is coming from. Like, who's in charge of this hip hop shit? Who's really helping you get your shit heard? And it's like, when we found out them niggas was the niggas as far as back in the days listening to college radio stations and the underground shit.
Sorry to cut you off. Is this prior to you guys hooking up with Steve Rifkin and doing the
this
whole
is earlier than Steve. This what made Steve look at
Neck,
us.
the first demos.
Yeah, all that shit. Steve came way after. All this shit right here was just
that's like
groundwork. This was groundwork. Starting to realize, hold up, this shit got a little something attached to it.
Absolutely.
That might be something. So, for us, the early days was just wanting to get on a mix show. And back then, they mix show was the shit. They come on late at night. So we up late at night. We selling crack in the streets, and some of us is in the crib bagging up, doing whatever, listening to the show. So
same
it was
old
like
no sweater. Times
same
is rough.
Yeah,
Don't make me spit, Ray. Don't.
It's a super story, right?
First records, we all know, Protect Your Neck, all that. What was the first record you guys cut for that first Wu project that gave you the chills, that gave you those goosebumps when you were like, yo?
It might have been the first record, actually, Protect Your Neck. Like, we was making demos and all that back in the hood. On the street level and shit, like, niggas would go to RZA house and, vibe out and come up with some shit and come back with a tape and, only niggas in front of the building to hear it. Not everybody will hear it, though, so everybody had their own little demo tapes. But when we really got it in is when we made Protect Your Neck. That's when it was like a mission, something that we all came to the table to do together. And it was like, for me, I'm running in another direction. I'm not thinking about no group shit until RZA actually say, yo, I want to form a group. So it's like, he came to me. I'm one of the top 3 he came to first. Like, yo, nigga.
I don't want to say shit like that.
Nah, but listen, let me tell you something. It's the real, though. It's like when the group was being made, he called me. It was like, yo, I want to do a group thing, and yo, blah, 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 and yo,
do you feel like
he wanted me to be a part of that?
Do you feel like because you were already so sharp with the pen and you were taking the hip hop super seriously, or because of that stature you had in the street, or you just guys were like friends before everybody?
Nah, you know what it was? It was like I said, we had one foot in with the music and one foot out. And the only reason why we had that one foot in the music is because of RZA, because we knew somebody that was believing in it. You know what I mean? And what made us really, really get involved is when we seen him come back to the neighborhood with a record in his hand. You know what I mean? And then knowing his cousin had a record deal, so we like, yo, hold up, y'all niggas got record deals? And y'all nice?
Which was so,
So now,
so foreign back then, right?
Now it's like, oh shit, is that close to us where we could touch it? Like, and they was just smart enough to know how to finagle to get to that level of getting a record deal
early in the game.
Yeah, I'm talking early.
Because a lot of people don't realize, like, the energy.
At least 89.
The energy in New York hip hop is exploding, and these companies are trying to catch up. They're just trying to grab any cat, what I'm saying, from pockets that are repping their hood, because they're just seeing monetization.
And the music was
back then,
pop, right?
But it was all about also just having it. You know what I mean? You had to have something to get a record deal.
Oh, of course.
And for me, it was like, them niggas was smart dudes, and they made good music, and I like their music. And it's like, for them to go out there and work so hard to get a record deal and come back to the hood, that shit was like, wow. That's like, yo, a nigga just caught $100,000.
Minimum.
Out the blue, you know what I mean? It's like, yo, how you get that?
They hit a lick.
Like, yo, I want that shit now.
And
you know
Ray,
what I mean?
a lot of these young kids, they're so fortunate. Social media, you see, oh, this cat's a nice producer. Let me get at him and get some beats to get my pen. We didn't know how to find a producer. You know what I mean? Me personally, I was buying the little cassette singles so I could get the little, the little remix, the little instrumental, just to be able to record myself.
Right.
We didn't know how to go about to find a producer, and people don't know it was $5,000 a weekend to do a serious session. Yeah. Where are you going?
And you stayed up all night to do this shit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Those
but it was different times, man. Back then, 1 out of a million times you'll be able to get a record deal. You know what I mean? It's like back then, you had to know the right people, you had to be in the right position, and you had to have super talent. So for us, it's like knowing that we had a little bit to pay attention to from watching RZA and Jizza, it was enough to like kind of create an energy to make us feel like we could do it. And we really wanted to do it just to represent where we from. Like, yo, nigga, we do the same shit over there that y'all do.
And nobody from your hood was on yet.
Nah.
Prior to you.
Nah, Staten Island is
which is so crazy because it's fucking 20 minutes away from everything. But you guys were really, really breaking ground.
Staten Island is a ghost town. Nothing don't happen in my hood. Nothing don't happen in Staten Island.
Nothing
Staten Island is like, nah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you.
There's a lot
like,
of action though.
when you think about certain places, like certain neighborhoods, they got shit going on in their neighborhood. They might have a shopping mall that everybody go to, or a
Queens
party, a
Coliseum
block,
and
or
shit.
shit like that. Like Staten Island never had none of that. So
There's
all
no
we
arena?
knew was, we never had none of that.
Nothing.
None of that shit.
Community centers to go play ball in. That's not
None of
happening.
that. I mean, it was like a different kind of town out there, and it led us into the life of crime back then. So that's all we knew and shit. And music, like I said, hanging out with the dealers in the neighborhood and learning how to grow up and survive.
Which obviously was, painted that picture of what you were gonna pen.
Yeah, because that's all I knew.
Personally, one of the
That's all I knew, kid.
one of the first joints I remember hearing from you solo, which blew my fucking mind and still, to this day. Can it be when it was all so simple?
Yeah,
Then
The hardest ever.
that was a goosebump moment for me. Personally being a young student of the game.
Right.
So you guys start making a little bit or a lot of money.
A little bit.
Yeah.
a little lot.
Well,
It
those
was a
days.
lot back then.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Then you start working on
Projects,
on
albums.
projects, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
What was that development like?
it was called growing, man. It was like, learning the ropes, really getting involved with the music side and starting to take it serious. Like when I started, I didn't really take it that serious.
Were you and Ghost always very close and you kind of brought him in the fold and that's why he had such a prominent position on that record? Or was it just the chemistry that just kind of...
It just happened organically because he was from down the block. I was from up the block. We didn't really rock with each other because we lived in rival neighborhoods. So it was like, our neighborhoods fight every year, at least once a year. Like, something's happening. Somebody got cut from his neighborhood. They come back, retaliate, blah, blah, blah. So RZA kind of like brought us together musically, but me and him, we learned to fuck with each other based on the fact that we liked a lot of the same things and we related to each other. We never crossed boundaries with each other in the street. So it was like, I know you know me, but
There was no bad blood. It was just awkward at the beginning.
It wasn't bad blood, but it was like, you stay on your side of the fence, I stay on my side of the fence. But at the end of the day, when we came together, we knew that our crews would never, ever hang together collectively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Half the years later?
Yeah, like...
That's the best, right?
You know what I mean? And years later, we got cool.
That's
and,
groundbreaking. That's the best.
You know what I'm saying? But still, our teams never really connected like that. You know what I mean? And it's just relating to the music and relating to the lifestyle of coming up this way and this and the shit we like. We talk about sneakers and hats and we related a lot. You know what I mean? And we started doing records where it's like Ghost would tell you, he'd be like, yo, Chef, like, yo, you made me start rhyming a little bit more this way than the way I was rhyming. For me, it was like I was just rhyming the way my heart felt at that time because I was living under a certain circumstance. So I didn't have a Wu-Tang style. I just had a street style. Like, I was going to be that dude in the crew.
Which by default became
some shit.
That's an understatement. I feel like when you do shit,
some shit.
when you do shit with no intended purpose,
then it becomes something.
That's that magic. There's no way I could get you on this couch without asking you about style. You've been an iconic figure when it comes to this hip hop, this hip hop style. Speak to us a little bit about what brands you were feeling early. I know, you were famous for the Tommy Hill. You had us all wanting to wear that sailing, that Tommy Hill sailing.
Shit and all that low shit.
Beyond the obvious though, like take us deep. Were you fucking with Bally? Were you Dapper Dan? Like what was the style inspirations? What were you feeling?
Yeah, I watched a lot of the older niggas in the neighborhood get fresh. You know what I mean? Like a lot of niggas that I always watched the niggas in the hood that was doing good for themselves. Cause it was a lot of us that was doing creep shit. So you kind of knew who you was dealing with when you was dealing with them. So I kind of grasped to the niggas that was getting money. You know what I mean? Where they was, even if you had a fresh pair of Pumas or a fresh pair of Adidas, you know, nigga knew that, yo, he was a dude that's gonna keep turning it up like that. So I always gravitated to those that was doing good for themselves.
Of course.
You know, even still running around with the wild goons, but certain dudes you pay attention, like, oh shit, the nigga got a fucking Sergio Tacchini suit on. He got a new Maximo.
Come on.
You know what I mean?
Sergio
like,
Tacchini was so epic.
you know, but listen, but to come out in the Max though, you know what I mean? Like the car and all of that shit. Like motherfuckers, certain dudes in our neighborhood had shit. So I would just pay attention to what they was wearing and be like, yeah, when I get my money up, I'm gonna have my sneaker game up and my gear and all that shit, and you know, and it just became a fad, like to watch who's getting money. That's how you could identify with who's doing something in the neighborhood.
It was very
you could
competitive.
tell it. You could check out his shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we wore just strictly, you know, fatigues and all that, and stayed black down. My whole neighborhood all the time used to always wear black, like the whole neighborhood, because everybody was into something. So it's like at nighttime,
Convenient.
Can't identify anyone.
yeah, you
Convenient.
don't know who's who because it's like, yo, everybody's wearing all black.
I wouldn't be good at that. Like,
You know what I mean? Next thing you know, it's just, you know, and eventually, you know, I just started to get money and say, yo, man, I'm going to buy me a shirt. I'm going to buy some sneakers. The niggas I ran with every day, that's what they was about. Yo, we getting a rental car. Yo, we going to buy some Clarks. Yo, we going to buy some Adidas. And you know, next thing you know, yo, niggas is the Get Fresh crew, you know? But still running around, sniffing, blowing, you know what I mean? Like, we was young, wild niggas, though, but we was getting money. We let you see that we was making money. And like I said, watching the rappers, you know, on TV, you know, helped a lot, too. You know, watching Slick Rick, and, you know, Rick was wearing minks back in 85, the long joint. A teenage love.
The cardigans
don't
with the
work
dookie pieces.
again. You know, the
Kangos
Kangos and all that shit.
Fur
Be like,
Kangos.
yo, we killing it. Like, yo, I need that look.
Ray,
you
I
know
was
what
8
mean?
years old, and I begged my parents to buy me a red
shit.
fur Kango.
Wow,
You know how fucking
shit.
ridiculous I looked at 8 years old with a red fur Kango? Shout
Furry
to that.
Kangos was Furry Kang. You had a Furry Kango, nigga?
8 years old.
He was a young. Oh
fur
my
Kangos.
God, yeah.
Delicious. Delicious. So, Sergio Tacchini,
Yeah, all that shit.
jewelry.
Fila, all that shit.
What about the jewelry game? What was going on? I know the pieces were just becoming crazier
when I
and
was-
crazier and crazier.
Nah, you know what it is that what made me love jewelry is that it was Jamaican niggas living in our neighborhood that was getting a lot of money.
We're talking about New Jack City era.
Yeah, shit like that. Maybe even a little bit earlier than that.
What inspired New Jack City?
These dudes, it was Jamaican niggas and shit that came and took over the neighborhood. And it's like, yo, they jewelry, when I tell you, ropes on like this with eagles on it.
And by the
You
way,
know, shit, like big, like long ones. Then they got the choke on your neck, like.
and the shit
them
wasn't
long
hollow,
ones.
not never. You
Nah,
could never have
those
a
is the
hollow
official
piece.
joints. Those
official
is
joints.
And it's like they was just like this, and then you know, and they got a silk shirt, a sky blue silk shirt on with. I'm like, oh my god, like why you do that? You know what I mean? Then the Wally's on, and I'm like, you know what I
too,
mean?
me
And
too.
you like, yo, they,
Very
you know, they
exciting,
making
bro.
a lot of money. Now you remind you know, being 13, 14 years old, watching this shit, you like, oh shit.
And what the fuck else do you really want to do with your life if you see
But
these,
all I wanted
these
was that.
superheroes coming through the neighborhood?
All I wanted was that. And eventually, after a while, you know, we started getting money and doing what we doing. We started dressing the same way, you know what I mean? So the jury always showed a certain form of success.
Of course.
You know, if you was getting money, you rewarded yourself with looking good. And jury was the first thing to get, you know, because we watched dudes in our neighborhood know they getting super crack money, and they coming downstairs like this with going up to the spot getting their money.
The first,
Coming down like,
the first
you know
time,
what I got.
from the first
Yeah.
time I met Ray, I seen this guy's neck. Not a cloud in a stone. You had the all tennis joint.
Oh, okay.
Clear
okay.
shit. And he was
Okay.
one of the first that you were early wearing the shorter.
Yeah, the choker
You
style.
know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And this is 15 years before
Yeah.
it became what it was. And I
Yeah,
remember seeing it
wow,
saying, damn, Ray Ray kind of got me wanting to shorten my shit. And, you know, we were real, my chain hang down on my dick. And I was like, I seen Ray, I'm like, damn, son. Like, he was the first one in my mind.
I ain't go super short, like right on the neck, but my shit was right here. Though.
No, it wasn't really a choker. It was like right about here. But it was that grown man shit. Now everybody's on that. The all white on white sets and all that. But Ray was always in
I had my fun with it, you know what I mean? It was just, a glowing thing. I just wanted to glow different. Not really realizing I'm being attached to certain trends, you know what I mean? When you think of the album Cuban Linx, I would never think that every day that everybody, I wouldn't think today that
it would have an impact.
Yeah, that everybody's wearing Cuban Linx and shit. So that's kind of dope, though. That means that, you know, my mission was, it was successful on where I was going.
It was hella successful.
And then some.
I feel like a lot of jewelers owe you a little percentage.
Yeah. Give a nigga 20%, man.
Even
like,
me, you know, I double dabble in jewelry. I sold a lot of Cubans.
I should have trademarked it or something, right?
Well, you know, we'll talk off camera. We might need to do a like how the Colombians used to do a stamp. We might have to do a special a chef stamp on the lock of the Cubans and shit. It's actually a very good idea.
That's a good look, Bless.
That's actually a very good idea.
Put the R on it, right? 14 karat with the R next to it.
Right?
Or we put that tarantula that you used to have and shit.
Oh, the tarantula, right? That shit was heavy, too. That shit was a weapon, kid.
That tarantula?
Shit was like fucking, like almost like 4 pounds or some shit. A little solid, heavy joint, though.
You know, and that's like a lot of people don't understand. Like, you could not have a hollow piece. You could not have a hollow chain. Because as soon as you came through glowing, motherfuckers wanted to appraise your shit with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, I can see that. You know,
I wonder if niggas get their shit appraised still. Like, that's important. Like, you can't be buying shit and knowing what kind of value it hold, though. But
I just mean you were getting clowned if your shit wasn't chunky, like off the rip.
But see, that was the best chain, the chain you got on, because those ain't popping. You know what I mean? No. Like, we used to run around and snatch chains, so it's like we didn't go for those. We didn't go for the little ones that you could pop. But those are the hardest ones to get. Like, you gotta really
knock you can't
get that off his neck. You gotta pull out a gun on him and tell him to take it off. So, you know, we was just wild like that, but we knew that was the best chains because niggas in our neighborhood like had those too. Like the long, big, heavy, thick joints like this, like all the way down here on some Shabba Rank shit. You know, you had one of those, B. It was like you was that dude.
Plus, I feel like even on a level of rocking Raiders jackets or Filas or certain, you know, you had to have a certain aura about you to even be able to dress like that because that wasn't regular shit. You were kind of, you know, putting yourself out there as, yo, I'm hip hop to the core. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers had to pay their dues to call themselves that once upon a time. It wasn't like everybody's just doing this for style.
Yeah, you had to fit the criteria of what it was, though. So
talk to us a little bit about the old New York, about nightlife, about what spots you guys used to go up to, whether it was the Tunnel or, you know what I mean? Like, where was it really getting, like, popping back in the day? Where you guys used to go?
Well, you know what I mean? Definitely the Tunnel was the shit, though. You know, it seemed like back when the 90s and all that, and we came out, it was like, the nightlife was getting more serious, and a lot of places was like we would go to was definitely places like the Tunnel. You know, it was this spot called, what was the name of that shit? Not Red Parrot. That's more back in the day. You know, what the fuck is the name of this shit? Damn. It was right over there by Union Square. You know what I'm talking about?
It's fuck. I think it was a little bit before my time, though.
Yeah,
I know it was a legendary spot, though.
Yeah. It was certain places though, but the Tunnel was more like the hood spot. You know what I mean? And you know, we used to always go up in there because we knew that everybody and their mother would be up in there. You know, everybody from different towns and cities.
You see, before social media, this is where cats were networking. This is how records were getting discussed.
Yeah, you had to know that. You had to go to the Gladiator spot though. So The Tunnel was definitely the gladiator spot.
Any crazy stories that stick out in your mind? Wild shit. Shit you could speak on, of course.
I mean, just shots breaking out in the club. And I remember one time, he's coming in the club and shit. And you know how you see people, they see you and say, what up? And I remember seeing this kid in a wheelchair and shit. So, he said, what up? I'm like, yo, yeah. Yo, what up? You know what I mean?
You guys are popping by this point.
But then we on now. And next thing you know, shots break out in the club, and all I see is the wheelchair nigga, like, like it was like he ran with us, like the chair was in the air, like, I just remember him being around, like everybody's trying to get out the way, like, yo, it was crazy though, man, But we was young, man. We was young and having fun and getting into shit, and everybody was just trying to represent where they was from. We was coming in the spot 300 deep, literally, like 300 of us, like in one corner. So, we happened to not. Staten Island became famous overnight just based on the fact that the way we was moving when we was starting to get on.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And what made us so thick like that, it was just the fact that each one of the members in the Wu had their own clique. So it's like I told you earlier, like, yo, I know Ghost, I fuck with Ghost, but Ghost had his set, I had my set, you know what I mean? And so when it was time for us to all come represent together, people from his side is gonna come out and represent him, but still represent us, but they really there for him.
So you guys were really moving like the Gambinos, pardon the pun, but Wu Gambinos, I mean, that's
I would say right? We had, but I would say back then in New York City, we probably had about 3,000 men. Yeah, like
still a powerful movement to this day.
Yeah, I mean, because we come from those parts where it's like we know a lot of people and shit where they know us like that. You know what I mean? That's why Wu-Tang could never be like a real star-studded group, because we know too many people from the neighborhood that always gonna keep us grounded. They're gonna always keep us right here because we just know so many of them. Like RZA alone, he probably got about like 100 people in his family.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So just his side alone, just what he was up to, what Old Dirty was up to back then. They was just coming out. It was like, yo, who the fuck is these things? But yo, they with Dirty. It's like it's 1,000 of them, but they ready. They ready to go if they have to. So, a lot of times we didn't want to come in a place wanting to be troublemakers, but we wanted the shit to happen. You know what I mean? It's
I know the feeling.
We don't want no problems, but we looking for it if it happened. It's like because, Staten Island was the last borough to get on. So for us, we were still a little bit, bitter about that. Like, yo, y'all don't know about us?
You're going to know.
Now we got to make you know, So now it was just that energy. Like, yo, we demand that respect. And we going to take it. And we going to rush the clubs. We going to do what we want to do to get in. Bouncers is getting chopped. Niggas' legs is getting fucking broke.
That's the era.
You know what I mean? All for us to just be like, yo, that's us. Leave you with something. Then we got banned. We got banned back in the 90s from the clubs. All the clubs in the city, they didn't want us involved. Like, yo, they start trouble. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers is getting stitches. The bodyguards, and it's too many of us. It took me a long time to get my respect to get back in the clubs, because they was like, every time I come, nah, you can't come in. The fuck you mean I can't come in?
That is.
They talking about something for 10 years later. Like, I'm like,
as crazy as it sounds, it's expected, because for us that know the era and shit. Speak to me about your favorite collaborations outside of the Wu, obviously. What was some of the memorable moments? I could tell you mine, but I'm more interested in yours.
Well, definitely some of my favorite collabs was rocking with dudes on our record label. We was down with Loud, so at that time Mobb Deep, Big Pun, Nas, and we did a couple of R&B records back then. Jodeci.
You had a record with Davina.
Yeah, my homegirl Davina.
I got the.
I think she got signed to Loud, right?
Exactly.
Was she on Loud one time?
I got the promo single. Rest in peace, Big Pun. I was like 14 years old.
Yeah.
Came to the Manhattan Center. There was a big show there for Rocksteady's anniversary. Big L was on stage that day. Pun was on the stage first time I ever saw him, and I was fortunate enough to get a pic with all these guys.
You
when
was
I was
there then, huh?
And they gave me a tape of the single Davina featuring Raekwon.
Right.
And I tripped out because I never knew anybody else named Davina. Davina was my sister's name. My big sister's name is Davina.
Oh shit! Wow.
And I always remember
That's her real name.
My sister's real name is Davina, so that's why I tripped. I showed it to my pops. I said, "Yo, one of my favorite MCs got a record." I didn't know any. I thought my parents made it up. I didn't even think it was a real name.
Right.
And my sister ended up passing a few years ago. Right.
Oh yeah.
So rest in peace. So that shit always stuck out in my mind because I never met another Davina since, and that shit always and that single to this day I still bump that. What was the name of that? So Good.
So Good. Yeah. That was a dope record too.
That was a great record.
She was getting on. She was doing a thing. So I was engaging with a lot of different music back then, R&B music. You know what I mean? Like I always felt like I grew up on R&B music. All of that was my hip hop back then. Listening to Dennis Edwards and Frankie Beverly and all that type of shit. I grew up on that kind of music.
Gems.
You know what I mean?
Take notes, people. Understand we need to reach back to the real musical legends that laid that blueprint for us to be able to sample all this fly
I mean,
shit.
that was going on in the neighborhood. Like I said, being a young kid, being magnetized to what dudes in the neighborhood that's doing something for themselves doing. And a lot of times, either they was going to work or they was listening to music to enjoy the weekend with, just making your block feel comfortable.
Yeah.
It made it feel homely, and when they had shit like Park Hill Day, in our neighborhood, it was something to look forward to as a kid. And seeing people that you respect in your neighborhood, really wanting to do something for the community. Where we're gonna do a park, we're gonna do a jam today, or we're going, all that shit meant something. That was hope for us coming up as a kid. You know what I mean? It was like to get away from all the poverty and the shit that was keeping us down. That day meant a lot.
Not to mention what was going on at home.
Yeah,
I mean, we all came from a rough background, family structure-wise. I mean, so
I definitely come from a abusive, home.
For me personally, I felt like the hip hop was an escape.
Yeah,
I feel like R&B was that escape.
There you go. There you go. Same shit. Yeah.
You and Nas collaborating. To me, you guys have always had a chemistry.
Right.
Where I feel like you guys, steel sharpens steel.
Right.
When you and Nas get in the fucking room together.
That's my nigga.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Nah, I mean, me and Nas, we always been cool since we got on, since we both got on. You know what I mean? And it's like, me and him got on, when the whole crew, he gonna get me ripped. He gonna get me right? And this is my 12th fucking drink, nigga.
And with the cheer shot glasses. You know you ain't gonna come on my sofa and get out of here sober. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. You're here now.
Might as well be fucking. This shit might as well be on the flame right now.
It's supposed to get easier.
Real talk and honor of Guru, man.
Nah, no doubt.
Rest in peace, my brother Guru. He was the one who got me on that Henny and water. You know what I'm saying?
That's your shit. You drink that all day, Henny?
I wouldn't be alive if I did. But tonight is a good vibe. So in honor of you being here,
I'll be drinking Jameson though.
Oh shit! Don't make me take you to the Irish spot and we gonna.
I'm a whiskey drinker today, y'all.
We gonna get gingy and we gonna take them a couple Jamies to the head.
But back to my nigga though. You know what I mean? Like we always had a certain type of respect for each other. Just being friends when we met. You know what I mean? We both was just. Like, yo, you from Queens, I'm from Staten. Yo, man, we fuck with you. Yo, we fuck with you over here. You know what I mean? Yo, come in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? I go to his neighborhood. He go to my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then we vibing with music. And, it almost seemed like being around somebody who that if he lived out here, you would be fucking with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we both had that kind of relationship. And, when I invited him on that record, Verbal Intercourse, that's when the friendship grew even more because it was like, yo, now we doing records together. And you know,
That was a
at one
standout.
point, believe it or not, you know, Nas he was interested in signing with niggas, you know what I mean? Allegedly, from what I was heard, like, you know, through his
Really?
peoples, he was like, yo, I wouldn't mind being managed by Wu-Tang at that time. And
Well, I mean,
he
you
always
guys-
felt like the 10th member. And we looked at him like a 10th member, because for him to be so young and be so smart, we knew he was a golden child even before the world knew it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, son, that kid is like an X-Men to us.
Yeah.
He could be part of
He's
the
special.
X-Men. Yeah,
He's like,
you know?
he's Rain Man. He's autistic
So,
with it.
you know, we always been cool, and today we still cool. Like, that's my nigga, you know
I
what
just
I
feel
mean?
like out of everybody, a lot of people in New York at the time put you guys in that category.
Yeah.
With the pen of being like, you know,
Goat pens.
yeah, like there was few who were being compared, and I feel like you guys were.
Nah,
the Giants, you
we
know?
was New York. We was the old York crew back then. Like, when you think about when the game really changed, when we first came out, it was like I was telling somebody the other day, like, you know, New York had a certain kind of sound, you know, that was really something that was needed at that time, because the music game was like kind of like driven somewhere else.
Yeah.
It was happy. We talked about pain in our music, and that pain that we wrote about became classic records. You know, it was just about the chemistry. It's like, yo, the bread and butter shit was just toasted at the right perfection. So we all was doing it. Yo, Staten Island niggas, we had our shit. Queens niggas, they had the Nas's and the Capone and Noriegas and Tragedies and,
So many.
you know
Shout
what I
out my
mean? The
boy
new
Trash.
generation. Yeah.
Shout out my boy Trash. That's one of my
You know?
OGs, man. Trash showed me a lot of love
Trash
early in the
Trash
game.
is a vet. You
Raekwon,
know
I got
what it
questions.
is. Yeah.
Who are you listening to now out of New York? Who are a couple names, like, for people watching, like, put us on to what's in your playlist?
Nah, you know what it is though, honestly? I don't really listen to nobody.
Chef's in his bag. He's going back to Frankie Beverly.
Nah,
and-
listen, nah, you know what it is though? It's just that I listen, but it's not inspiring enough. Cause it's just a different time, so I really can't really relate to anything that's not
What about an
inspiring.
Uncle Murda, a young M.A.? I mean, these people are spitting like that.
Nah, don't
Davies,
listen.
maybe.
But I'm saying, all of those is dope. Don't get me wrong. All of them they doing.
no kid out there
They doing
that-
their numbers. But if you ask a nigga that been around just as long as I ask, he might give you the same answer. Like,
Yup.
you know what I mean? And that's all I'm just saying. Like, it ain't the fact that I'm hating on the new generation.
totally agree
It's
with
just
you.
that the new generation is a new era. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, I gotta stick to my era. So I'm gonna always pay attention to the niggas that was making classics. You know what I mean? Like I said earlier about the old York, I can name a lot of those dudes that made classic albums. You know, I can't get a classic out of nobody today. That's not saying that they not dope, they not good.
You know-
but I just can't get
Fair.
a classic.
Right.
I can't
It doesn't
get
make you feel that.
a record for record and really feel like it's authentic. So it's like I kind of stay to the music that I love, which is my time, and you know, of course, those oldie but goodies that made me who I am. You know.
Most underrated, one of the most underrated classics that I've actually been listening to a lot. Frenchie, tell me if I'm wrong. Cool G Rap 456.
Well, you know, G Rap is just he's a super vet. So you know,
Of course.
see, I feel like I fall in his dimension
course you do.
of rap is on that level, you know, because
Rappers.
G Rap
Seasons.
was, you know, when G Rap was talking that shit, we was in action. We was Timberland boots on, you know, army coats, you know, on
What's
that
your-
mission.
What's your favorite Eric B. and Rakim record?
It's crazy. Yes.
Making them work.
I would say
we're going
probably
deep. Come on
I
now.
would say probably Eric B for president.
Make him clap to
When
this.
that shit was when that shit first came out, B.
That's super dope.
The
boy.
summer, you know, I'm thinking about 2-finger rings,
Super deep. boy.
Clarks, silk shirts.
Preach.
You know what I mean? It's like the drug game was booming. My block was making like 600,000 a night.
We talking about Killer Ben.
You know,
Paid in full posse.
The music back then, the gear, the flat top fades,
It was mean.
you know, everything just was like, yo, get on. This is the time. Them summers was dope summers, and when you heard that record right there,
Favorite Slick Rick record. And I will
Children's
stop
Story.
Children's
Story. You know what I mean? And that's just one. But but even if I go back to the show with him and Dougie, it's like All the Way to Heaven. You know what I mean? Or Lottie Dottie.
Yeah.
Those is records that really fucked the block up. Like,
Fuck yeah.
you know, like, oh shit. And then if you hear them niggas is coming in town, and we didn't get that as much as a lot of other places. So when they came to our neighborhood, it was like, oh shit, them niggas really came out. Like, they here?
Yeah.
You know, you come down to the big park, you know what I mean, and the shit is crowded, and you like, yo, you heard Dougie Fresh gonna be here, and Slick Rick, and they pop up and they show up. You like, oh shit, they here? And they be right there and shit.
These guys were our superheroes, man. They were our
Exactly.
fucking comic books.
Well, I had that feeling tonight.
That's a fact.
Like,
Till today, like you said, still today.
well, speaking of that era, I bring that up very strategically and purposefully. I made a couple calls. I have some good friends of mine that have Cazal here in Canada, and I thought to myself, I said, damn, man,
Cazal.
I only know one.
You know, I'm gonna tell you something. You know who put them back on the map, right? Me. Let me explain it to you. And this is 100% real life facts.
Tell him, brother.
When we go shopping in certain places, right, a lot of times we would go like uptown or something, right? And it's this certain store uptown that everybody go to. Everybody from all over, they go to this store, right? It's called Blue Jeans or whatever the case may be.
145th.
Yeah, 145th, exactly,
Yeah.
right there. And it's like the dude in there, he sells all kind of shit or whatever, from clothes or whatever. So he happened to have glasses in there as well. And I was in the store one day, and I know him. He's a good brother. He's a Muslim brother. I know him. And I told him, I said, yo, you need to go get some Cazals. But when I said it, I didn't realize that he would really go and really get in the Cazal business to go get shit from Cazal, official shit. Yeah. But the only thing that really made me think about it was the fact that I remember back when I was coming up as a kid, Cazals was big. The OGs wore 'em. And back then, niggas was getting them snatched off their face. Niggas was getting robbed for them on the train. Like, to have a pick, because back then, they was literally $500 back then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what
They're
I mean?
like 1,000 now, but 500.
You know, and I had an uncle. I had an uncle that wore them too. So I guess what made everybody wear him is the fact that Run DMC looked it like his glasses looked it like Cazals.
Yeah.
But they probably wasn't.
I don't think they were.
I don't think they was neither, but they looked it like Cazal. So a lot of the OGs, you know, that dress with the Kangos and the jean jacket, Lee suit on, and the Timbs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was the glass. That was the eyewear style, the big frame.
That was almost like the extension of your jewelry.
Yeah.
Your
glasses.
You had to change the shit.
If you didn't have jewelry on,
you weren't really.
That little gold part of your Cazal was jewelry.
But if
you know what I mean?
3 chains with that shit.
Oh, then you off to the races.
But you better have that strap
so
on you.
Me, when I told him, so anyway, like I said, you know, putting them onto it, like, yo, you should get some Cazals in there. And like, yo, I think niggas will buy him. And next thing you know, he had got a couple of pair, and dudes started coming and copping them. So every time I came in the store, he was like, yo, you was right with those glasses. I said, see? So really for me, it was just paying homage to that kind of eye lens, to that kind of eyewear that was going on back then, not really knowing that a lot of dudes would really get on and fuck with them. I see Ross rock them a lot. You know what I mean?
Your collection must be massive, and I know that you must have the classic DMC joints and the ones that Ross has. So I personally picked something that I thought would be fire.
Oh shit!
These are the Johnny Depp and Blow.
The blow joints.
The blow joints.
Said the blow joints.
Come on now, I cannot have you here.
The blow joints,
Tell me what you think of these, my brother.
Let me see what you working with. Let me see. Shout out Cazal. Ooh, that's a nice lens right there.
That's with the silk shirt.
That's a nice lens.
It's not with the
right
tracksuit. That's the silk shirt.
Right. Those are slippery right there.
Slippery with the greenish lens, the money
like
green.
It. Look.
Wear them well,
see
brother.
This right here. These are the 2000 joints right here. Mm-hmm. These are murderous right here.
Did I do good?
I look like a baseball player with these on.
Did I do good?
Nah, you did good.
That's Sheffield now. He's the baseball, Sheffield, bro.
Yeah, that's what I said. The Donnie Shell joints. It's love. Nah, these
Wear
is
them well,
hard.
my brother. You always
These
do.
These is hard right here, kid.
And he got the burgundy A's.
Burgundy
Come
whooped
on,
out hat on.
Come on, man.
Just getting off stage, tore my hat apart. That's all.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure here having you, my brother.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much for coming through, man. It was
no question.
It was long.
Shout out to Cazal, man. You know, this had a lot to do with my years of growing up, and you know, I always pay homage to the brands that really inspired me to be who I am today. So
we're happy to have you rocking them. Raekwon the chef is in the motherfucking building. I'm your boy Bless. This is the M.O.T podcast.